Good evening and now something strong. Sound. I'm not sure where that is coming from. Oh, that seems to have stopped it. Okay, that's what we'll have to do. Okay, right. Well, welcome, Father Tom. And welcome, Brother Stanislaus, who we can't see on screen. Hold on.
Hello, Excellency.
Oh, there we are. Okay. How are you both? Are you well, brother?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm doing well, thank you, Excellency. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit cold. The temperature's dropped over here. It's windy and wet. So I've got this on to try and warm up a bit. If I just mute you for a moment, brother, we'll just have a chat with Father Tom. Oh, I can't mute you, can I? No, you'll have to mute yourself. Can you mute yourself a minute, brother? I'm not sure if he can hear me. All right, Father Tom, try coming on. Let's see what happens.
Hello.
Oh, there we are. That's okay. Oh dear.
Oh no.
I think brother has Wi-Fi issues. Now,
Never a dull moment.
How's your father doing?
Doing well. It's wow. Time has really flown by. It's Saturday already, and he, God willing, thank you again for all the prayers. Hopefully, we'll be going up tomorrow, and he'll be discharged, and we can bring him home. Cool. It's going to be a long road ahead in recovery and therapy, treatment. There's a lot of stuff going on. But with all the prayers and support, it's truly been a blessing and truly efficacious. I can definitely say that right now. So
he's out of ICU now.
Yeah. They transferred him out of ICU, I believe, yesterday. And they're just doing the routine stuff right now to make sure he's okay for him to be discharged. Talking with a couple of the nurses, they've given me their kind of off the record, on the record type of thing. And it's what I pretty much thought from Tuesday, however, to today. It's a marked improvement, obviously, and it's looking a lot better. So
good. Okay, right. We've got to talk about it because everybody else is, and it's still rolling on. So I think the best way to do this is for us to take it in turns. So two of us will be muted while the other one gets things off his chest. Okay. Now there are two topics you might be thinking, oh, which one is it? Well, find out now. There we go. It's got to be done. So, who wants to go first? Now, the interesting thing is that you are both each in a contentious state. Aren't you, Father Tom, where your parents are?
Oh, well, yeah, right now. But, I mean, in Chicago, no.
We're not talking about Chicago.
Okay.
I know the difference between Illinois and where you are now.
Right, no. I mean, yeah, Brother Stanislaus, actually, yeah, we're both in the same state right now. Just about like a few hundred, or what, 500 miles apart in the same state.
You're in the same state?
Yeah, Michigan. He's Detroit. I'm in the UP.
Ah. How weird.
Right. But we're actually closer when I'm in Chicago and he's in Detroit than being in the same state right now.
Right. So I thought Wisconsin was. Did you?
No. The Cleveland War.
Right.
The UP went to Michigan after the Cleveland War.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to.
See how I tried avoiding that?
Let's go to brother, because he is in Detroit,
right?
Which of course has been controversial. So, brother, we're going to go to you and hear your thoughts from the local perspective on what's going on. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, that may have been why I didn't hear the clip that you played, but I've been paying close enough attention to what's going on. I just read an article this morning. Maybe you could sum it up. How is it that Joe Biden in this country, except for Atlanta and Philadelphia? It doesn't make any sense. But it almost never works. It is, as they're calling it, the president.
Brother, if I'm just going to interrupt you for a minute.
From the NFL, and more than likely, it's Joe Biden will be the president come January.
Right, brother, I'm just going to ask you to pause there, and I'm going to suggest that you turn your camera off.
Oh, sure.
And I think that might help the stream from your end. We should still hear your voice. Oh, yes, okay. Can you speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes, excellent. Okay. Yeah. Now you need to repeat everything that you just said.
Okay, not hard. Not hard. I just I thought a good way to sum it up is, how is it that Joe Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in every city in this country except for the four? I forget the other one, but unfortunate position of having to overcome a play that's already been called. It's like in the NFL here, in the hard to overturn that unless it's absolutely clear. And I think that's the position that President Trump is in. Unfortunately, he might win a couple of things at the Supreme Court, but they really pulled a fast one. Again, this is like the 1960 election all over again. They pulled a fast one, and more than likely, unfortunately, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be seated come January 20th of the new year.
Yeah, I mean, in many respects, I think that's what, a lot of us are hoping will not be the case. It all seems to depend on so many variables. I mean, from what I can glean, there is actually, despite what the MSN media are saying, there is actually quite a considerable amount of evidence for voter fraud. I think we're up to 300 sworn affidavits now. All sorts of whistleblowers, from the guys who are the tech for the voting machines, through to mail guys, the guys who deliver the ballots and stuff, through to counters, through observers who weren't allowed to observe votes. Again, I found it annoying all this week of various media outlets saying that Biden is president-elect. He's not anything at the moment. He is still Vice President Biden as an honorific. He has not yet been declared president-elect. That won't happen until at least the Electoral College meets next month and votes according to state result, or until Senate in January. So he's not anything at the moment. Neither of them are president-elect at the moment. There is just the president, who, for the time being, is Trump. Until the inauguration at the end of January, it's Trump. So I seriously ignore all these stupid voices acclaiming President-elect Biden. It's not true. It's not a fact. Objectively, it is not a fact until the results are officially called, which requires each of the secretaries of state for each state to certify their results. Until that happens, it is totally presumptuous to conceive of or address Vice President Biden as president-elect. He is no such thing at the moment. The election is still ongoing. There is a due process. And that's the second thing that has, really bothered me this week. Again, this idea that there is no evidence. There's tons of evidence. That's why the Department of Justice are involved. That's why there are all sorts of different court cases going on, etc. The fact that the mainstream, supposedly, media aren't reporting on the evidence actually just betrays their prejudice and their bias, because any journalist worth their salt would actually be covering this story of election fraud. And I say that meaning that they should be objectively covering it, irrespective of any bias. If what is alleged is true, this amounts to a very serious situation for the United States, and especially regards trust in its electoral system. Now, surely anybody wants to know for certain, for sure, who has been validly elected. Surely anybody wants to know that. So any journalist worth their salt would be covering this story. They would be interviewing the whistleblowers. They would be interviewing the Republican lawyers. They would be interviewing the people in charge of the counts. They would be interviewing the people, the tech guys over the ballots, etc., etc. And I just beggars belief that nobody in the mainstream, I don't want to say mainstream, nobody in the MSN media is properly covering this, because there is clearly a lot of evidence. Now, what matters is how that evidence is treated by the various judges to whom it's presented. So there are, and in that respect, there are judges, the local judges, that will probably have first pickings at it, and then after that is the Supreme Court, if necessary. There are other avenues as well that this could go. For example, if the state secretaries refuse to certify the results, then the state houses could take control of the situation and elect their own electoral college representatives. Now, the Democrats don't want that to happen because in all the contentious states, the Republicans have the majority in the state senates. So it's actually in the Democrats' best interests to get to the bottom of what's gone on, because surely if they want to win the election, they want to win the election fairly, and they want to win the election clearly. Frankly, people have had enough. I mean, I say had enough, and I'm not even an American, but people have had enough for 4 years of electoral controversy. People are forgetting that Hillary Clinton used exactly the same phrase. The election has been stolen from me in 2016. And there were issues then, suggested issues then about electoral fraud. So this is a serious matter that deserves to be treated seriously by the media. It really does. At the end of the day, it may be fun here and there to express partisan polemics, but quite frankly, few people need to start adulting. They need to grow up and start regarding and treating this election process seriously and with the gravity that it deserves. Because otherwise they will be made a laughing stock of, and so will America. And that's, it's not necessary. It's not right. Okay, brother, if you don't mind, if you could just mute yourself, and then we'll just go to Father Tom and get his take on things. There we are, brother's muted.
Well, I love the story that came out from the Vatican that we are considering, or the Pope Francis is now considering canonizing Joseph Biden for his miraculous raising of almost 1 million people from the dead on November 3rd. And what a great miracle that is. So we definitely want to keep him in prayers for that most wonderful event when it happens. I'm sure all the bells and whistles will be brought out. But to the point with this election, it is tiring. It's now becoming more a headache. But we need to remember this. As Catholics, we answer to monarchy. We have Christ the King. And though we are in this world and we have a government that we, for lack of better words, owe some obedience to for our protection and well-being, it's just that, for our protection and well-being. And what we have seen with the United States of America is an unfortunate turn for tyranny. And what's very interesting with these ballots, they're not votes. And a ballot's just a sheet of paper, and it becomes a vote when it has been properly filled out and scanned, verified by voter registration, by making sure everything is legit and legal, and then it's counted, and then it becomes a vote. Until that happens, it's just a ballot. And what we're seeing with all the irregularities right now, we have seen more irregularities out of this election than in the past 200 years of our country's existence. Where we've only seen just Biden-Harris marked on a few 100,000 ballots. That's it. No other votes were cast, just Biden and Harris. And that's kind of strange, because if you're voting for a Democrat or a Republican, you would most likely vote down the ballot for that party. You wouldn't just vote for one person because you want all your candidates for that party to be in to get a better control of things. So just voting for one person or one candidate seems a little irregular there. And that's in the United Nations voter guide for how to determine voter fraud, as well as the United States. Like, there's a bunch of key points, and pretty much all of them have been checked off during this United States election. And we're doing the due process now. We're going through the courts. We're going through what needs to be done. Unfortunately, this is going to be a long process. And my one fear is that come January 21st, it's going to be Nancy Pelosi that's going to become president. And I think that's a very strong possibility right now. And it's sad. It's worse than Biden. But if we're going to do things right, and it's going to go through the courts, and you got to recount and verify tens of millions of ballots to make them votes, it's going to be a process. This is not something that is going to be able to be overnight or within a few weeks. It's going to take months. But we pray and we remain steadfast in knowing the truth. God has worked greater miracles than this before, and if we put our hope and trust in him, he will allow us to hopefully have 4 more years of a nation that is striving to work towards good Catholic moral virtues, standards of this country. We're not there yet. We have a long way to go, but please, Lord, give us 4 more years to show we're worthy of it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Can you mute yourself? Brilliant, lovely, thank you. Yes, I don't know. It's it just seems every year the world just gets crazier and crazier, and what's black is white, and what's white is black, and everything is just being continually turned upside down. We are, as the Chinese say, we are living in interesting times. But it was ever thus, as I said a couple of days ago, I think I said last night in Contramundum, it was ever thus. Various times through history, the world has been in similar crazy situations, and we're still here. We will know when it's the end of the world, and it ain't there yet. So we just have to remain steadfast and pray, be faithful, pursue holiness, and try as much as we can to be as charitable as we can to others, even those whom we think are deeply confused or under other influences. Okay, let's move on to the other topic, also prevalent at the present time. Okay, so the McCarrick report. I'm going to go straight to Father Tom on this one because I know he's itching to say something about this. So, Father Tom, we'll go to you first on this one.
Well, it's about time. I'm glad that they were able to dust it off the desk and finally publish it, even though it's been probably done for a year or so, or however many days it's been, months. But just like Tutti Frutti, whole lot of words, not a lot of meaning. So it's, 450 pages or something like that. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, probably a great read to get you to get some good rest. You'll be out in a few pages, I guarantee it. What little bit I've skimmed over it, it does not do justice to the victims. It does not do justice to the church. It really only gives justice to Satan and his demonic forces that have infiltrated the church. That's who it gives justice to. I'm sorry, but with everything going on right now, the last thing we need is some bureaucratic, namsy-pamsy, church of nice person telling us everything's okay and we're sorry we made a mistake and it will never happen again. Please forgive us and give us all your money because we need money because we're broke. Sorry. I'm done with it. I'm tired about it. It's just like the political system in the country. It's the political system and the corruption in the Vatican. And you wonder why, we have traditional groups and orthodox groups that are existence right now because we love the church. We want the church to be her greater glory, to be holy, to save souls. And this frustrates us to upteenth level of degree because when we're seeing just idiocracy coming out, spewing out of the Vatican with this document, what should be done is justice. And the only reason why McCarrick was laicized was so he could escape justice, because you cannot be tried as a if you're laicized, you cannot have a tribunal against you for clerical actions that you've done. That's the reason why he wasn't laicized as a punishment. He was laicized as a pardon. And people are thinking, oh, he was laicized, that's good enough. No, he was pardoned by Pope Francis because of this, by laicizing him. He should have gone through the tribunal process, and he should have been, tarred and feathered at minimum. But I digress on that. What we need to realize is no document, whether it be a papal encyclical or an investigation report, whether it be any independent Catholic news agency or any whatever person on social media, on YouTube is saying about this document, it does not change the faith. It does not change the church. Don't let it bother you. Say, you know what? If it's bothering you, just say a rosary and get over it. Offer it up to Our Lady and to the saints and just get over it. We're not going to be able to, clearly we're not going to be able to change the Vatican the way that we love to see change, to see holiness persevere through. So we pray to change ourselves, to conform ourselves to God's will. And that way, all this part of my language BS that we're in right now won't have an effect on us. It won't stain us. And, it's sickening. It is. And like I said, it's a whole lot of words and no meaning whatsoever to it. It's lip service to where lip service is due. And it's only I feel sorry for the souls it will affect and lead to despair and lead to being taken away from the church. Because I'm sure there are going to be souls that are going to fall away from the church because of this. So we need to pray for those souls that they do not fall away, or they find tradition. They find real Orthodox Catholic teaching and practice. And we're here with arms wide open as our Lord on the cross is, here for all souls in need of love and mercy and salvation.
Cool. Brother Stanislaus, if you can hear me, would you like to unmute yourself and give us your opinion?
Sure. Okay. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, you know, I like, just like Father Thomas, I have to say I wasn't disappointed.
We can't hear you, brother.
Questions than supposed, and doesn't surprise me at all. You know, I had a few run-ins in the sense with the former cardinal being on the East Coast for so many years. So, and one of the priests with my former community was ordained by him. So there were some interesting things that I saw, but it doesn't surprise me at all. And anybody at this point who thinks that we are going to receive any sort of clarity or response to authentic tradition from this um, uh, pontificate is just fooling themselves. And really
Sorry, brother. I'm afraid. I think your signals got even weaker.
hurt by everything that has happened with the former cardinal. Over the
Okay, brother. I'm going to interrupt because we can't hear. Oh no! Now you've disappeared completely. Hopefully, he might try and come back. But I know that last week he would have joined us, but for problems with internet, with Wi-Fi. So let's hope. But I think we can appreciate what he's what he was trying to say. I mean, there is much, Father Tom, in what you were saying about McCarrick's laicization that is absolutely pertinent, because, of course, without a tribunal, we don't hear from, as we haven't heard at all from McCarrick. We haven't heard his side of things at all. And without a tribunal, there is no way to cross-examine him. And as you say, there is no way really for any real justice to be meted out. Now, one of the incredible things I thought, and was a great pity and a great shame about the report, was that out of the 400 and odd pages, a footnote, oblique footnote, is given to mention of the abused victim that brought the whole thing to light. So in other words, the person who had been abused since he was a child by Uncle Teddy, i.e. Cardinal McCarrick, received an oblique reference, was made to him in a footnote almost at the end of the report. And bearing in mind that it was his coming forward in 2017 that kicked everything off. What I also find incredulous is the fact that they're trying to blame it all on Vigano, who was actually a whistleblower. Vigano had nothing to do with McCarrick's rise to the episcopacy. He had nothing to do with his translation to Washington, D.C. He had nothing to do with his becoming a cardinal. And in fact, Vigano wasn't even nuncio, wasn't even papal nuncio to the USA until 6 years after McCarrick had retired. McCarrick retired in 2006. Vigano was appointed apostolic nuncio in 2012. And Vigano's only sort of involvement was in imparting Benedict XVI's desire that McCarrick keep a low profile and basically have nothing to do with anyone or anything. I mean, in so many words, really, McCarrick was suspended ad divinis almost. He wasn't supposed to participate in public ceremonies or masses. He wasn't supposed to travel without, letting somebody know that he was on the move and where he was going. And to all intents and purposes, he had been retired. Now, the other key thing is that there had not been any credible allegation made until 2017, when James Grimes came forward. Before then, there was only essentially rumor. Now, if you think about this from the perception of the Vatican. So if you think of it from the perception of John Paul II, who, for example, is lambasted by this report. Look at it from the perspective of John Paul II. Look at it from the perspective of Benedict XVI, or Cardinal Ratzinger, as he then was. They had received no actual allegations. There was no actual evidence of anything. Cardinal John O'Connor had intimated that, there was something dodgy about McCarrick and, it might be a bad appointment. Other than that, though, nothing else had been said. Other than that was essentially clerical rumor.
Wasn't he 15th on the list to receive
16th
to become a bishop?
16th
Or 16th?
Yeah,
he was like very low on the bottom of that of DC.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because normally it goes like the top three guys, like one of those three guys, but he was like the 16th, and it's just like, how did that happen? I digress, but no, I just thought that there's something dodgy. Of course, there's something dodgy about it.
Yeah. So, where was I? Is this working? Hold on. There we go. So McCarrick. So Benedict, John Paul, they had nothing actual concrete to go on. Now, fair play. If you're, if you do things properly, then you can't judge someone, you can't condemn someone on hearsay, and that's all there was. Now, what is damning and isn't in the report is the fact that so many clergy, including senior clergy in the hierarchy in the States, had more information and knowledge than just hearsay. They knew who victims were. They knew because some of them were themselves victims. They knew that there was truth to the rumors. They knew there was truth to the speculation about why the Archbishop, when he was bishop, why he took seminarians to a beach house, etc. There are loads of other people that, quite frankly, should have spoken up. And because they hadn't, John Paul II and Benedict XVI had nothing else to go on. Even Cardinal John O'Connor, when he wrote to the Vatican and said, the reason why McCarrick is 16th on the list for the archbishopric, is because he's no good. There are suspicions, but that's nothing. You can't judge someone, and you can't condemn someone on hearsay. That's not just. We all of us have various detractors. We all of us have people that we've fallen out with in the past or whatever, might say all sorts of things about us if anybody went to them for a character reference. Doesn't mean to say that anything they say is true, and certainly doesn't mean that anybody in a position to make a decision should do so based on that hearsay, based on that supposed evidence. That just wouldn't be just, and we'd all be the first to say that's not just. We can't, So this report, which basically has blamed John Paul II and Benedict XVI, is
Vigano. And
Vigano. I'll come on to that in a minute. But has completely unfairly misrepresented and presented the whole situation. Now, when it comes to Vigano, as I say, Vigano wasn't Apostolic Nuncio until 2012. All he knew about anything was that the Pope, who was then Benedict XVI, wanted McCarrick to do nothing, to go nowhere, say nothing, and essentially stay at home. Now, again, it may be because at this time, of course, this is after everything had the explosion in Boston and then New York with clerical sexual abuse coming out, etc., etc. It may have been, again, that more hearsay or more rumor had reached the Vatican about McCarrick. But again, nothing concrete until James Crimes comes forward. And then, of course, the proverbial hits the fan. Then there is something concrete to work on. Then there is something to do. But even then, not everyone who knew what McCarrick had been up to for 30 plus years came forward. Now, there are 4 bishops mentioned in the report who were the suffragan bishops to McCarrick before he went to Washington. They didn't say anything. In fact, they only said that they thought their boss was okay. They're all dead now. But there are still people alive, like Donald Worrell, who did know the truth. And people like Tobin, people like, what's his name? Shupich. These guys know all about McCarrick and have said nothing and have done nothing.
Well, all
So the
those
travesty
current
of this-
cardinals, all their red hats to McCarrick.
Well, not just their red hats.
Well, so they're miters too. They owe their miters and now their red hats to McCarrick. They would not have had those appointments if it wasn't for McCarrick.
Yep.
And, the one thing I wanted to add really quick before we go on, if I may, is just all this is about advancement and the unfortunate term clericalism. McCarrick used his status, whatever it was at the time, to have his way and give a promise to those men that I will make you a priest of a very prominent parish. I will make you a Monsignor. I will make you a bishop. Or if you see something and you don't say anything, here's an envelope with some money in it. Or he did a great job of securing silence, so he could just unfortunately get away with terrorizing and destroying souls.
Well, the question is, you see, what did he have on the others? What did he have on Tobin? What did he have on Shupich? What did he have on Worrell?
Oh yeah, that's going to be something that would have come out in a tribunal, but we're not going to get to see that. I know maybe some of the skeletons may have some very interesting attachments to them in their closets, but that's between them, their confessor, and God. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's a terrible event, but it just goes to show, people will say whatever you want about McCarrick. He was a very intelligent man in being corrupt and being extremely cynical. He had that down to a scientific T. Because where you could go out in the Basilica of Washington, D.C., say mass, and be all chummy, friendly with everybody and everybody's favorite person, and then turn around and whatever he was doing, that just, it's disgusting. But it shows how mentally probably he is traumatic, has some mental disorder, but also very cynical. He had this all planned out in a sense, like how to keep by people's silence, if you will. And that's not it's not in the report, of course. And
if he didn't buy it, he blackmailed them.
Oh yeah. Well, I consider that the same as buying. Like you're blackmailing. You got something where you're haggling and dealing with somebody about something. So anyways, yeah. I mean, I know. What was it, Grime? He's been kind of silent-ish. He's made some statements, but nothing, and he shouldn't. He you know, let the poor man, if he wants to come out and say something, of course, but you know, these people that are bugging him to say something, I just let him be. He's suffered enough.
The point is, though, where has been the pastoral care and concern from Papa Francisco to James Crime?
Well, if you're looking for pastoral care from the Pope, you probably got better luck getting it from the Dalai Lama than you do that guy. I mean,
we know that's my point. Well, no, it's not that funny actually, because Francis portrays himself as this great person who cares. You've got someone here, an actual bona fide victim of abuse, which Francis, in the last couple of days, is going to stamp it out from the church, who's never once picked up the phone and spoken to this victim. Oh, he can speak to people in Argentina and all other places of the world, randomly ring up people.
He can call
an actual victim who was abused by one of the cardinals, has heard nothing from him.
He can call President-elect Biden and congratulate him. He can get he has Slim Jim Martin on the speed dial anytime he needs him. And no, I do apologize for laughing in a sense, but it's serious, and it's sad that you're not going to get a straight answer from him on it. You're not going to get pastoral care from him. You know,
and what he's not going to do is address what needs to be addressed. He didn't do it in Argentina. He was a supporter and a cover-up of clerical abusers in his archdiocese. He attacked victims in his archdiocese. And a bit like Biden, everybody thinks, he's so lovely, he's so wonderful. But it doesn't take much to scratch the surface to find out that they're not as they portray themselves.
Well, and here's an example of that: the presidential debates, when a question or a subject matter was brought for Biden to defend or answer a question on, and it was a little too real for him to answer, he lashed out. he started calling names, and he told him to shut up. And he was getting passionate, emotional. Well, Francis has done the same thing. And there's very much, how many bishops and clergy in private meetings will have given testimony, said, he's a tyrant. He yells, he screams, he throws things, and then you saw him when he slapped that woman's hand on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's a pizza square.
I mean, whether or not, yes, he is old. I get that. And old people maybe don't like to be touched or pulled. But the way that was done, and then there was no apology afterwards. There was no, hey, one of the papal guards saying, "Oh, you know what? Come with us really quick. We'll take you to a private audience with the Pope so he can apologize to you, clear this up." So there's no misunderstanding. That was not done. And so we see this, but that's what we get from this agenda mentality that we have that has infiltrated the church and is unfortunately infiltrating the United States of America and other parts of the world. If they don't have reason and intellect, they think they can win with feelings and emotions. Well, Thomas Aquinas says you're wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Now, let's move on to our last item, which is a lot lighter-ish. Here we go. So this appeared in The Guardian this week about priests in Ireland essentially complaining that they were being unfairly rated by their parishioners over the quality or content of their mass broadcasts online because of the lockdown restrictions in Ireland at the moment. Basically, what they were saying was that they felt under pressure. Some of them felt stressed. Some of them felt emotionally hurt by parishioners' criticisms of comparisons made between the way different priests said Mass online. Now, some of you will know Father Tom and I are both regular broadcasters of the Mass online. And I have to say that from my perspective, read this, quite frankly, and I've been broadcasting now for over 12 years, what matters to me is that Mass is said. Now, and it's great. It's great if others are there to view it and to hear it and to get something from it, to make a spiritual communion, to be hopefully edified by it. I hope that particularly during lockdown that it provides a focus for people's devotions, a reminder for people to pray, etc. But at the end of the day, I would say Mass anyway. So all I'm doing is broadcasting what I would do anyway. And what matters most is that Mass is being said. All these other considerations, all these criticisms that come out of, we don't like this priest because he speaks too quickly, or we don't like this priest because he looks like a wreck. We don't like this priest because of what he does with his hands. We don't like this priest because he can't preach for toffee, etc., etc. To be honest, for myself, all I've ever been concerned about is that the offering is worthy. But I would be concerned about that anyway. And I think in part this is the difference between the traditional Mass and the Novus liturgy. is that, of course, with a traditional mass, there is a standard that is inherent to the liturgy itself, of how things are arranged, how things should look, how the priest should dress, which way he should face, what he does with his hands, etc. It's all delineated in the rubrics. Whereas with the Novus Liturgy, there are very few rubrics, and it's whatever goes. And even such rubrics as there are seem to be open to various interpretations. And that's why you get into this kind of show element of Novus Liturgy. And for years, people have said, without broadcasting, Catholics have said, I go to Father so-and-so's mass because, he says it quickly and I'm in and out of the door in moments. Or I don't like the way Father so-and-so preaches, or I don't like the way Father so-and-so. That's been going on for years. But quite why these priests are saying that they are somehow emotionally or psychologically being affected and scarred, and feel that they're being abused, all of that seems beyond me, to be honest. Father Tom.
Well, as obviously I just started with the first lockdown, live streaming masses, and it was going okay. I was doing the best I could with what little resources and forethought I had into doing this. Maybe it wasn't always as prestige as maybe one would like it to be, but like you said, the most important thing is a mass is being offered. And that's what it's about. I've offered daily mass since I've been ordained. Thank you, God willing, and will continue to do that. So whether I'm broadcasting it or offering it for a few people or offering it just with the company of the heavenly hosts around me, the holy sacrifice of the mass is being said. And that's the most important part. And the second most important part is it's being said as traditional and with due reverence as possible without any modern innovations. Now, I will say, as a new clergyman to the live stream world and broadcasting masses, it is somewhat stressful. Making sure the camera's right, making sure you have something prepared for a sermon, making sure you know the prayers and you know what mass you're going to be saying in the missal, having that set. But you would do that anyways. I guess when you have a camera in front of you, it does, or behind you in our case, it makes it a little bit more awareness, But at the end of the day, like you have said many times, and I'm trying to live out, we don't let our emotions guide us. We don't let feelings over or supersede our objective truth. And the objective truth is, if you're a priest, your obligation, your sole duty is to offer sacrifice. That's it. Like, that's your only thing to do as a priest is offer sacrifice. Perform the sacraments. That's it. You don't need to be a psychologist. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to be anything else that what Rome wants you to be now. Your job as a priest is to be sacrificial, period. And so does that mean maybe getting up a little bit earlier or taking a little bit more time to maybe set up the camera, set up the missal, maybe get the proper prayers out? Yes. And if you have the time to do it, wonderful. Unfortunately for me, the reason why I had to stop doing it was because of my secular job, which I'm dreading going back to right now because we are ramping up again with COVID and it's not looking good right now. And the amount of time I've left, I've been gone. My manager, we've had conversations, and please keep that in prayers right now because this is not looking good. But that's the reason why I wasn't able to devote enough time to live stream and get to work on time and take care of everything else I need to take care of, like saying offices and everything else. But I still offer mass, still offer daily mass, and still is being said, and people's intentions are still being offered. I don't let my feelings, even though, yeah, I will admit, yeah, I was a little hurt sometimes at some of the criticisms or whatever, but you get over it and you really, well, okay, well, what are they doing? Are they able to offer mass? No. Are they able to are they a layperson that goes to mass daily? Or are they just sitting on their sofa and criticizing 100 priests because they can? Well, where's it coming from? So, these priests that are letting their feelings, you pray for them. Pray that they may have the courage to overcome the criticisms and hopefully continue to do it and maybe learn the Latin Mass. And that way they won't have to look at a camera. They'll look at our Lord and Savior on the cross. They'll be right in front of them in a tabernacle. And maybe they'll appreciate the Mass a lot more. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of just flabbergasted, really, but there's this notion that a priest getting worked up about it. The Mass is the Mass is the Mass at the end of the day. What matters most is that Mass is offered, and that the intentions are offered, and that the prayers are offered on behalf of the people, with or without them. At the end of the day, that's what matters. We can all, critique this, that, and everything else, but ultimately, what does it matter? The only thing that matters is that the holy sacrifice is offered, that the opportunity to unite ourselves physically or spiritually with our Lord in his supreme act of love and worship and adoration of God, which is the altar of Calvary. That's all that matters. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this, our 35th episode of Old Romans Unscripted. And hopefully we'll be back next week. Hopefully Brother Stanislaus, bless him, he did try several times to get back on, but clearly just wasn't able to cut it. So I'll be sure to contact him. Thank you for his contribution, and let's see if we can work out a way of addressing that problem for him, because it'd be great to have his voice on board. Bishop Kelly, of course, wasn't able to join us this week. I don't know if he's going to be able to next week. He'll let us know. Father Thomas, I suppose you might be back at work next week.
I don't know yet. It's all kind of up in the air with everything. Since this was like an impromptu thing, of course. This was supposed to be my weekend of work. So yeah, so we'll see how things play out. If I'm able to get on, wonderful. If not, of course, I'll always be around some way.
Yeah. Hop on your lunch break.
We'll see. I mean, if the caseload is as what I've just heard the rough ballpark is, unfortunately, it's going to probably be a lot of long shifts with no breaks.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you just got to take care of the patients. So
absolutely,
that's about that sacrificial love, right? That we're all called to, and is offering it up. I think you mentioned that it was a Contra Mundum or your Wednesday night catechism.
I say it all the time.
Right, the sacrificial love. But no, it was something about offering up the tasks. Like any little thing you do, it can be a prayer and be pleasing to God.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that. I remember reading that a long time ago in one of the books for seminary, and it's always resonated with me that every little thing you can do, you offer it with a good intention to please God, and it's a prayer.
Yeah.
And it's just, just like us clergy, when we're praying in the office, if you get disrupted, somebody knocks on your door, they need to hear confession or last rites or something, and you're praying in the office and you stop and you minister to them, you're not obligated to finish your office if you don't have the time to, because you've done part of your obligation already. So it was all those little beautiful things that as Catholics, ambulance just went by, sorry. As Catholics, we take maybe for granted or we don't know about, but once we learn about them, we never want to let them go. So thank you again for reiterating that, bringing that back to my forethought. So
I think around that last night, pro forma, pro forma, which is available on YouTube. Right, bless you all. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Otherwise, of course, regular programs continuing. Look out in September. There'll be some new scheduling, some new and programs then. But meanwhile, tomorrow is the Feast of St. Gertrude the Great, a great saint, wonderful saint, and we're on the penultimate Sunday of the year. Before the end of the liturgical year. So it's and then next week there are some great feasts. Next week we've got the dedication of the basilicas of Saints Peter and Paul, and some great sainted personages as well. So don't forget daily mass broadcast online this channel, 8:30 every day, the midday Angelus at 12 and 6 o'clock the Angelus, followed by Rosary. You're always most welcome to join us then. Meanwhile, take care. God bless. Thank you for watching.